Elon has fully gone in the ring to support Trump. I personally was worried, like putting my viewpoints aside, analyzing the business Tesla, was worried that a lot of Tesla's fans were liberals. A lot of their employees were very liberal democratic people, including Elon when they started. And would that alienate customers? Q3 deliveries, I believe, were like at an all-time high. Like I thought they were very strong. So that's made me think that Elon getting into politics is a lot overblown. Like I'm in New York and there's this cool store by me that has a little toy Cybertruck. There's Cybertrucks all around. People think they're cool. I'm supposed to be in liberal Brooklyn. And then I'm like out of my bubble. It's just like a couple of my friends in Seattle that are actually have sworn off the Tesla brand forever. It's 1% of the country, not 30%. But so right. I'm trying to grapple with this. I've been vocal saying it's not smart to get into politics to Elon. He's told me it's important for the future of civilization. So I'm like, maybe he's right. I don't know. That's the one thought I've had is like, shit. Like Elon, every time I've known him, like he does shit for the right. I said this to one of my friends who was like an Elon hater. I was like, look, you want to know what I think? First of all, you're only asking me what I think of Elon Musk, so you could say what you think, which I don't even care about. That's what I realized. Like, I don't even care.
That happens a lot.
Yeah. And then I've realized you don't actually know what I think. I've actually am way closer to this than you are, but you don't even give a fuck what I think. You're just going to tell me what news article you read. And then when I try and explain it to you, you're going to argue with me. So it goes nowhere. I don't know. So I'm trying to think if this is actually going to affect Tesla or not, or is something we should be worried about. And then the flip side, honestly, is look, yeah, if Trump loses, the Democrats might go after Elon. A lot of people might hate him. That might hurt. But the flip side you got to think about is how many Republicans are getting converted to EVs? How much is that convincing? Did half the country just get EV pilled because Elon switched teams because the other half was already EV pilled? That's a genius move for the future of the climate that we all should be pumped about. Now they have the Cybertruck to sell to crush the ICE pickup truck. Perfect timing for Elon to red pill himself or whatever. And if Elon wins and Trump and him get into government and he cuts all the regulation, and we go El Salvador, Argentina on them and start actually accelerating the pace of innovation of our government's laws, then Tesla's upside and future potential is way bigger than we could have even imagined if Trump gets elected. Yeah. And now you're looking at poly market and the betting markets by the day saying that Trump's lead is growing. I think there's a huge, as much as there's been downside to the political drama, I actually think there's a massive upside if Trump wins with it. But I went on a long rant. I'm curious.
Love it.
Tell us everything you're thinking, personal opinions or not.
I really appreciate what you started off with, which is we have to talk about this. I've been on for a while that the Elon getting political impact to Tesla was incredibly overblown. And I was very vocal about that. Because if you really think about it, 25% of the country is Democrat, 25% of the country is Republican, 50% of the country is independent. Of that 25% of Democrats, okay, how many of them are really going to make a purchasing decision based on the CEO of a company? Most people don't care. Most people want the best thing for their family so that they can save money and use something that makes them happy and hopefully get the best bang for their buck. That's how most people operate. And I think one of the things that we've been getting lost in is that with Elon moving over to the Republican side for this election cycle, the way that Biden publicly ignored him and essentially mobilized the Democratic Party to go after him in a way.
It didn't come out of nowhere. That's what's funny to me. It's everyone's like, he turned. It's dude, if you were him, you would have been done the same thing. Yeah. That's what's been a bit frustrating to me is the story gets missed. And I feel like we were a part of that story of what you just said, a liberal who's Democratic, who got into Tesla because they want to stop the pollution of the planet. That's me. Right. And then you realize that your government, who said they care about that, actually doesn't. And they turn away and trying to stop progress and sustainability and are actually the enemy of a sustainable planet is the government because they're impeding the progress of the people doing it. And then you change your mind. And so I think the quiet majority feels that way. I think I would say over 50% of my friends who are Democrats have converted to Republican. And I have a ton of friends. I would say my friends are very evenly split. Like I used to have basically a couple Republican friends, pretty much all Democrat. And now I'd say it's 60% are Republican, 40% are Democrat. Like the same friends, just a lot of them have changed. And so I personally think Trump's going to win in a landslide, like not my opinion, but just I think even the betting markets and the polls are underrating the sentiment that I feel in Brooklyn. And I don't know how you feel about that.
I agree 100%. But even set that aside, right? Without a doubt, Elon is doing this also for personal gain. Elon wants to be able to get Tesla and SpaceX to where he wants to get to it as soon as possible. And he views the Democratic Party as a roadblock. And he's not going to be stopped and he thinks Trump is going to let him get what he wants. And so I think it would be silly to think that this isn't also a selfish move in a way, but that's how politics works in this country. Honestly, one of the disappointing things for me in this election cycle with Elon specifically is that he is somebody that loves to not play the game and make his own game. But in this election cycle, he's playing the game. He picked a side in a political system where we're stuck with two options, right? He picked a side.
He didn't RFK. I thought he would have RFK'd if you had taught ahead of, and I kept annoying him about that. I'm like, dude, what about the third option, RFK? Like,
same.
Make America healthy again. That sounds sick.
Exactly. 100% agree. But I do think, back to your original question, is this going to have an impact to Tesla sales? I really don't think so. Here's the deal, guys. The Model Y wouldn't be the best-selling car in the world or the best-selling non-pickup truck in the United States if there was brand damage. Like, if there was any brand damage that is, let's call it significant or material. Are there people that left the brand because of Elon's political views? Absolutely. Without a shadow of a doubt. Is that a significant number? Definitely not. And I think we see it in the numbers. And I know it's easy to say Elon getting political hurts the Tesla brand. Yeah, okay. So like less than 1% of the population, your Ross Gerbers of the world are going to throw a hissy fit because they care more about status than value proposition. But the true reality is that value proposition is what a gigantic amount of people lust after, especially in countries that don't have the type of GDP per capita like the United States does. People want value for money. People want bang for your buck. People want the best. And to say that Tesla doesn't offer the best value for money in automotive is simply wrong. And that's why Tesla succeeds.
I love it. And I feel like it's a bit of like privilege to be like, I'm going to buy a less efficient, more expensive vehicle because this CEO pisses me off.
1,000%.
And then it's
they have every right to do that.
And I think it's interesting. And it's like, I've told some of my family members, okay, they want to get rid of Tesla, buy Rivian. I'm like, go for it. First of all, you're not going to be able to whine about it to me. Second of all, that's a 40% less efficient vehicle per mile. Mm-hmm. Your whole thing is you love climate change and you love the green movement and you're trying to reduce your emissions, but you're saying, I'm going to increase my emissions and increase the amount of pay I have because I hate Elon. So you are valuing your social signal over your actual emissions. I personally think that's not going to hold up well because I think if you're sleeping at night and then you walk out to your garage and you're like, yeah, I hate, first of all your energy is going towards haterade, which I think is a losing mentality. I think why hate? Put your energy into the things you love, not the things you hate. And then what are you going to do? Walk every day, look at your Rivian at how big and bulky and inefficient it is. And every time you drive it, it's going to be less efficient. I don't know. So I'm with you. I think and then you flip side of how many fans have we gained? Because on the flip side, so there's going to be a cancel out there.
Exactly. And that's underrated. And that what you just mentioned there is super underrated. Like I live in Texas. I live in Austin. I have friends that are very Republican, very right leaning. Elon went from being this weird liberal cuck. Okay. That's how they viewed them. And now he is a savior of free speech and he is America's greatest asset and they want to support him. Okay. And some of that is through image because Elon, I think one of Elon's greatest strengths is that he is a brilliant brand person and he doesn't get enough credit for that. Like Elon Musk's brand, the amount of people he reaches and how he conveys himself, I don't know if this is accidental or not. My guess is just he's so authentic and transparent about who he is.
I think it's the authenticity.
That people respect the hell out of that. Even if you disagree, like I disagree with a lot of things he says. I do not think this is the end of the democracy of Kamala wins. I just think we'll have worse policy. Okay. And it's going to be harder to get stuff done. And then the people will get fed up if that's true. And then she'll get kicked out of office. That's how our republic works, right? That's how our electoral college works. So there's a lot of takes that I don't agree with. But to say that somehow this guy doesn't know what he's doing or he isn't transparent or authentic about his approach or that he isn't that insanely valuable asset to America, if you don't agree with those statements, you're just not following the story closely. And then another point I want to throw out too, even if the Democrats win, okay, I think Elon and his companies, the value proposition is so strong for America that they can say whatever they want. They can do whatever rhetoric they want in public. But I think behind the scenes, I don't think it's going to be smart for them to impede progress because that will literally mean losing a ton of capability to space, which is going to be a giant frontier for the next 100 years for every single country from a national security perspective. And then if you hamper Tesla in any way, you're also destroying America's ability to generate the supply chain needed for next generation transportation systems from both an autonomous perspective and electric perspective. This is just terrible national security policy if you get in the way of this guy. And I'm telling you right now, if the Democrats win and that somehow becomes visible to the public, those guys, that party is out. That party will be out like so quick because it'll become too obvious and the Republicans will be able to capitalize on that very easily. And they already have.
And what you said is so powerful because Elon Musk is the world's biggest influencer. He's got 200 million account. Like he literally has real influence and power, not about what coffee shop is trendy, but like about what nation states do. And he has 200 million people following him. I've been scheming that Elon Musk can tip the election. It's so simple when it's at a high level. Most powerful, influential person in the world, you piss off, he switches sides, and he brings millions of people with him. It was already a close election. Now it's a fucking landslide. That is just such a no-brainer. Like, I don't know. I keep coming back to the fumble of the bag of the Democratic Party to just like screw over Elon Musk at every turn they could. And then it's, you got yourself in this situation. That's where my real frustration lies, is like with not about Trump or anything or RFK or anybody. It's just the Democratic Party said they want electric vehicles, then screwed over Elon Musk instead of embracing him. And that caused massive political chaos because it almost forced Elon to say, fuck you. And so now you've got the blob, that's what I call it, versus a little bit of an unhinged rich douchebag, maybe, or I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't say that. I don't know. Those are what I think the options are. I don't know. I shouldn't have gotten into this, but, and it's, you think about it from Elon's perspective, it's look, Donald Trump will chise it up. He wants what's best. He's trying to look good for the people. He's way more authentic than Kamala in some ways.
Way more.
And so I think you just look at it from Elon's perspective of like, he's been trying to get the blob to work with him. He keeps giving them gifts in their lap. Like, here's a better space program for cheaper. Here's the Green New Deal you wanted for cheaper that taxpayers don't have to pay with. I'm actually going to get taxpayers to pay us because we're going to make money from these programs. And so anyway, I'm very curious about where this all goes.
Yeah. And then time after time, like you said, like he got slapped in the face. Okay, thanks. But billionaire bad. Let's run Elon out of California. Let's make sure we don't invite him to the EV summit. Let's make sure that we have the Justice Department looking at him. And I spoke with Rohan Patel, who was the biz dev guy at Tesla, that he left last year, I think. We had a fantastic conversation with him. Really good. He worked with Obama for 10 years and he's a Democrat. And his rebuttal will be, well, yes, but if you look at the IRA, no other company benefited most from the IRA than Tesla. And he's right. But then they were the ones that did what they were supposed to be doing, right? No one else was doing what they're supposed to be doing, which is like massively ramp up their electric vehicle infrastructure because they're incapable. So it's, on one hand, I understand what he's saying, that the Democrats weren't all out trying to push him out because Tesla did benefit tremendously. But that's almost like saying they executed well, and therefore that's reason to support the Democrats. I'm like, the rhetoric in public is very important. And when Biden didn't recognize Elon at the EV summit, I've come out and I said that was single-handedly the biggest fumble Biden has had. That was the biggest fumble in the history of the Biden administration because it turned, like you said, the biggest influencer in the world against that party. And I remember, dude, this was my second video as a YouTuber. The first video was my time at Tesla. And then the second video was right after Biden snubbed Elon and Tesla entirely. And I'm like, holy shit, because I was like 2 months removed from the company. So I still felt like I worked at the fucking place. And then I see the president of the United States just ignore the 4.5 years me and everyone else that I know worked at the company, the blood, sweat, and tears we put in. And I'm like, how is this even fair? Like, how is this even fair? And from that second on, I'm like, this is going to be a huge problem for him long term. I didn't think it would come to this. It was a huge fumble. And my prediction is in a couple of years, none of this will matter because Tesla and SpaceX are going to be so incredibly successful in Neuralink, 3 years, whatever the number of years in, regardless of who's in office, that Tesla will just be undeniable. Dude, Elon could be in jail. Tesla's undeniable. It's undeniable.
I think you really think about it, what country isn't going to want Elon Musk?
Exactly.
Okay. The US pisses him off that much. Yeah. Every other country is going to be begging to have that guy. It's like, how dumb do we got to be? But I don't know. I also really appreciate being able to talk about it openly because I vibe with what you said earlier about politics are important. We should all be able to talk about it and have different opinions. I love that all my friends have different opinions. That's all good.
Yeah.
And I think that's super important.
America, you know,
to have
so
the
it's beautiful
discussion.
about this country.